Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. I hope you're all doing great, and welcome to this new video right here on the markets. I wanted to do a bit of a middle of the day market update on a Sunday. It hasn't necessarily been a very eventful Sunday. The volume in the markets is quite low compared to the volume at least we've had before. The volume in general, I mean, the volume is $43 billion. That's obviously still quite high, right? If you compare that to the volume in the weekend in April, back then we dropped down below 10 billion, right? So ultimately the markets are still very, very active. But today I wouldn't say that much is going on. Still, we'll talk a little bit about next week, what you need to know about that. I also spoke about that in my Bitcoin and Ethereum videos this morning, but wanted to go over it briefly again in this video. We'll talk about Bitcoin, how Bitcoin is looking. There's some significant updates I need to give on Bitcoin. Since this morning, since the last update I did, which you need to know about. Then we'll talk about XRP briefly, which not much has changed since my video this morning, to be fair. And then at the end, we'll talk about some altcoins I think you need to have on your radar, all right? So that's what we'll do. I'll try to keep the video short and concise so you can easily watch this in your afternoon, in your morning, whatever, and you can enjoy the rest of your Sunday as well, all right? Because obviously the optimal Sunday is not watching long videos by Cilinix Crypto. Short video, I'll tell you what you need to know, and then get on with your day. Touch some grass maybe right here. That's not a good idea because it's extremely windy, but still. So let's get right into it. So first of all, next week, when we're talking about next week, I'm talking about economic data, right? Obviously, next week is going to be loaded because of the trade issues right now between the US and the EU. Look, I'll be on top of that. I'm screening the news sites, and I'm screening Truth Social every other hour right now. So if anything comes out and I need to make some sort of an emergency update, I'll be the first to do that. Or follow me on X, I'll be the first to tell you on there as well. But that is something, you know, we cannot really trade. We can speculate on that, but not much outside of that. What we can expect, and what you do need to know about, is the economic data that comes out next week, because we actually do have some major economic data again. Later today, Jerome Powell is speaking. At Princeton, I don't think this will matter, all right? It's a little bit of an informal speech, it seems to me. Obviously, at Princeton, it has to be formal to a certain extent. But still, I would not pay too much attention to this, even though personally, I will watch it live. Wednesday, FOMC minutes, important, all right? Very important for the monetary policy of the US. So that, I will not be live streaming it, but I will probably publish an update after that, after having read through the minutes. Thursday, major day, we have GDP data and initial jobless claims, which you need to know about. Friday, again, major day, because we have PCE price index, core PCE price index, and normal PCE price index, which is basically inflation rate data, which is incredibly important for potential rate cuts. That's what you need to know for next week at least. Let's get to the chart right now. So first of all, what has happened since this morning is that Bitcoin is showing a little bit more weakness. Now, what I said this morning as well is that you should take this weakness with a grain of salt, because the volume is much, much lower than what it was on Friday, Thursday, the entire last week, right? So that is true, but Bitcoin right now has dropped down below the 7-day rolling VWAP. We're not really gaining much strength from the 200 EMA, and that in combination with the fundamentals makes me say that I think we're going to drop down lower. Now, the drop down lower is very much dependent on the fundamentals, right? If we see de-escalation between the US and the EU before the US market opens tomorrow, I think we can actually hold this level at 107,000 as support, and we can kind of consolidate right here in this area. So that is certainly a possibility. You can also see on the 4-hour time frame we're finding the trend right here. But given the fundamentals and the uncertainty that's coming from that, I would say it's most likely, or at least it's better to assume, that we're still going to drop down into that level between 105 and 103.6, which to me, especially 103.6, 103.5, seems like an interesting area to buy. But that's my personal opinion, and those are my personal actions, of course. So that's what I would say regarding Bitcoin right now. That's all I think you need to know for now. When we're talking about altcoins, first of all, to start off with XRP, like I said, not much has changed. We're finding support here at that major support level at 2.25, 2.28. I expect that level to hold, but short term, I do think we can spike down lower before reclaiming it and therefore holding it. But like I said, buying at that level I'm not convinced. Volume is also extremely low for XRP, so it's a bit of a tricky situation. Talking about altcoins. Now, the major altcoins I've covered in videos today or yesterday, and I will keep you updated on that in videos. There's nothing major you need to know right now regarding Solana or Sui or Dogecoin that we haven't spoken about. There are some interesting altcoins though that I did want to speak about in this video. The first one being Syrup. I've talked about Syrup in videos a lot, all right? And this is continuing to be extremely strong. I would say, buying right now, maybe not the best decision, but if this actually gets a deeper pullback, I would say this is one of the best coins that you can buy into. All right, so keep your eyes on this. It's Syrup. All right, there you go. Then outside of that, also wanted to talk about Aave. That's obviously a major Ethereum DeFi project. Also looks incredibly strong. Same thing as with Syrup, especially with the uncertainty. Would I buy right now? No, but with deeper pullbacks, especially into that area right here between 230 and 210, it looks like an amazing buy, and it's definitely a coin you should keep your eyes on. So that's Aave. For those of you who are perhaps a little bit new to crypto, this is the name of the ticker. And then last of all, a bit of a strange coin right here. This is NXPC, right? So you spell it like this. It's a Binance-related coin. This broke out earlier yesterday. In general, it has broken back down below the main level. It tries to break above, all right? So at this point of time, not interesting. But it showed quite a lot of strength. So either a drop back down into 1.8, 1.75 looks interesting, or maybe we can actually reclaim that breakout right here at 2.2 and 2.15, which could be an interesting buy opportunity as well. But that's my little altcoin spotlight for now. I think that's what you need to know. For now, click away the video. I'll see you all in my next videos. Take care and bye.